President Clinton tipping his hat to Texans, hoping they'll return the favor on Election Day. While Bob Dole soaks up the sun and debate briefings in Florida. The second anniversary of the contract with America has Gingrich and company crowing and Democrats crying boot mute. And
it started with Susan Molinari, the Republican keynote speaker who brought her baby. Then Evan Bayh, the Democratic keynoter who brought his twins. See your baby, Molinari, and raise you one.
Our Bruce Morton on cute pictures, good politics, and the campaign Year of the Child.
From Washington, this is Inside Politics with Bernard Shaw.
Bill Clinton went to Texas today in search of political success and personal satisfaction. He's talking optimistically about winning that big, important state, which, based on recent voting trends, should be Dole country. Clinton's Texas loss 4 years ago reportedly stuck at his craw, so a victory this time might be especially sweet. Wolf Blitzer went with the president to the Lone Star State.
President Clinton in Fort Worth, part of a three-city campaign swing through Texas. With the state's economic picture improving, he predicts the state's 32 electoral votes are now up for grabs.
If you look at the results of what I said we would do, what we have done, and how much better off Texas is today than it was 4 years ago, if the people are willing to give me a fair shot and look to the future, yes, I think we can carry Texas because it's right for the American people.
Democrats say they don't see how Bob Dole can win the election without Texas. No Democratic presidential candidate has carried Texas since Jimmy Carter did in '76. 4 years ago, Clinton ran against two Texans, George Bush and Ross Perot, and lost by 4 points. Statewide polls in recent weeks show the race is competitive, though some of Clinton's supporters still don't think he's going to win.
Well, I don't think he is. I think that Texas has been going Republican for a while.
Looking for votes in this part of the country, the president always reverts to his native southern drawl. Listen to him in Longview talking about his efforts to pass gun control.
We took a terrible licking in a lot of places in 1994. You'd have thought I was going to knock on the doors myself and take people's guns away.
His campaign, meanwhile, is continuing to knock out new TV ads blasting Dole's record raising taxes.
Bob Dole, $900 billion in higher taxes. Republicans call him tax collector for the welfare state. His risky tax scheme would raise taxes on 9 million families. Bob Dole, wrong in the past, wrong for our future.
The president's aides say he's also come to Texas to help House and Senate Democrats, including Victor Morales, the former school teacher who's in an uphill battle against Senator Phil Gramm. Morales caused a stir this week by branding Republican Congressman Henry Bonilla, a fellow Hispanic, quote, a coconut, white on the inside, brown on the outside. The White House says Clinton considers the derogatory remark inappropriate, but will still continue to campaign for Morales. Privately, White House aides concede winning Texas would be an upset, but they say that Clinton's visit here, at a minimum, will force the Dole campaign to spend more money here, money that could be spent in other battleground states. Bernie?
Thank you. Wolf Blitzer in Fort Worth. While the president is stopping in Texas, Bob Dole is sticking close to his Florida condominium, prepping for the first presidential debate 9 days from now. Candy Crowley is keeping track of the GOP nominee. She joins us from North Miami Beach. Candy, quick question. How's the Dole camp reacting to Clinton's barnstorming in Texas?
Actually, I think they're a little irritated. I have to tell you, publicly and privately, they say they are very confident about Texas. They are not worried that it's going to go Democratic. They believe that it will go for Bob Dole, and solidly for Bob Dole. Publicly, the press office has said, look, this is a big spending, big government, a big liberal candidate. Texas is not going to go for him. Privately, they say the only thing this does is give the press something to talk about today. Oh, can Bill Clinton take Texas? But as far as the Dole campaign is concerned, no, he can't take Texas, and they don't seem at all concerned about it. The candidate, of course, did not comment on that today. We haven't seen much of him except for a few quick peeks at him as he comes out of his condo for various things. Right now, Bob Dole is taking a little time resting up and studying up. A little bit of sun, a little bit of substance, and a bite to eat at Millie's hot dog shop. The Dole campaign has come to a screeching halt at the doorstep of the Dole's Florida condo, where the Republican candidate can update his tan and enjoy the solitude while preparing to face his biggest audience to date, the estimated 100 million people who will watch the presidential debates. Aides say Dole does his best strategic thinking down south. They note it was in Florida where he decided he needed to leave the Senate to run for president. Dole can get within himself down here, says one staffer, and it's the best debate preparation. Less given to the psychological, Dole describes his attraction to Florida the way most people do.
The colder it gets, the more times I'll be back in Florida. And it's starting to get chilly up in the north.
Following a couple of quick pops to court Southern Floridians Thursday, Dole retreated to his home. Last night and this morning, he met with staffers in what's described as a free-flowing discussion of the debates. One attendee says the focus was on issues rather than technique, and part of the time was spent dissecting claims President Clinton has made and discussing the most effective ways to respond. In fact, Florida seems to be so good for Bob Dole's tan and his thought process that aides are thinking that he might come back here next week, and indeed the candidate has even hinted that he might come back next week and use that final weekend down here for preparation in the upcoming debates. Bernie?
Thank you, Candy, and you're starting to glow beautifully yourself. Thank you. A snapshot now from the latest CNN USA Today Gallup tracking poll. Clinton and Dole are both down a tick at 48% and 38% respectively. Ross Perot, he's still stuck in single digits. The 10-point gap between the president and the GOP nominee remains at its narrowest since the polling began more than 3 weeks ago. This is the second anniversary of the signing of the GOP contract with America. Republicans commemorated the big moment today on the Hill. The Democrats countered with a news conference, including so-called regular folks they said have been hurt by Newt Gingrich's agenda. Perspective on the 2-year-old contract continues to be sharply partisan.
And what did we say 2 years ago? We said, give us a chance, and we will apply to the Congress every law that applies to the rest of the country. And on the opening day, we kept our word. Hear, hear, hear. We said liberalism is tired, it is out of touch, and its policies are wrong.
2 years later, the Gingrich revolution, which started with a bang, ends with a whimper. Okay, let's give Speaker Gingrich some credit. Thanks to Newt, congressional offices no longer get free ice. That's where they succeeded.
Gingrich's celebration of the contract comes one day after an ethics subcommittee voted unanimously to widen its investigation of him. W.C. Fields may have worried about being upstaged by children, but politicians tend to think otherwise. In fact, this election year, the unofficial campaign motto seems to be, bring on the babies. Here's our national correspondent and kid video finder, Bruce Morton.
In presidential politics, this is the year of the child. It started with Susan Molinari, the Republican keynote speaker who brought her baby. Then Evan Bayh, the Democratic keynoter who brought his twins. See your baby, Molinari, and raise you one. Babies on the campaign trail, of course. The president in Philadelphia. The prez in Los Angeles. This kid looks cranky. Bob Dole favors bigger kids, sometimes lots of them. Ventura, California. Santa Barbara. Babies are okay, too, though, like this convention delegate. And Clinton plays with big kids as well. Michigan City, Indiana. Macarena. Will the big guy join in? Well, almost. But he probably doesn't mean electric slide. In Wyandotte, Michigan, some kids read to him. Good inspirational stuff for a candidate, the little engine that could.
Please, please help us, little blue engine.
Ross Perot doesn't go out much. His kid is in his infomercials.
Ross Perot introduced America to Amanda Perkins.
Her name really is Amanda. She's the daughter of one of the cameramen who shoot the infomercials. Politicians have always kissed babies, of course, but kids of all ages do seem more prominent this year than in the past. Candidates pose with them and hug them and shake hands with them and sign autographs for them and, well, on and on. What does it take to get elected in 1996? To borrow from the title of a recent book, it takes a child.
I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can.
Bruce Morton, CNN, Washington.
And ahead on Inside Politics, Bill Schneider's Political Play of the Week.
At Sharp, we have a full line of copiers that suit the needs of your business, no matter how big your business becomes. Call for your free interactive kit of copier solutions.
Prudential has helped protect and support families for over 120 years. With the largest capital base of any life insurance company in America. We've always been there for families, paying over 85 million claims. Today, Prudential touches 1 out of every 5 people in America. People think we have quite a history, but all we've ever really done is help insure the future. The Rock, we've been there, we'll be there.
When my grandfather surfed the Bonsai Pipeline, narrow boards ruled. Eventually, Gramps had a stroke of genius, a wider board for better control. He said, wider is better.
Introducing the new Wide Track Grand Prix. Its wheels are set wide to hold the road for more control when you're shooting the curves.
It's true. Iaho Laula.
The new Wide Track Grand Prix from Pontiac. Wider is better.
Say, if you like cheese, but not the fat and cholesterol of cheese, please try my delicious Smart Beef fat-free slices. Serve them cold or grill them. Either way, they have a great cheddar taste. Smart Beef, 0 fat, 0 cholesterol, 0 lactose.
Fibercon or Metamucil? Both have fiber for regularity, but I like Fibercon better.
Same natural action of fiber, same dependable regularity.
Fibercon makes staying regular much easier for me.
Fibercon caplets, fiber regularity that's easier to take.
Some would say going 100,000 copies without an unscheduled service call is impressive. Sharp would say, it's a beginning. Sharp. Call for your free interactive kit of copier solutions.
Now, let's consider where this presidential race stands and where it may be going. Joining us, our political analyst, GOP pollster Kellyanne Fitzpatrick here in Washington, and author-journalist Faraj Shadea. Dole closing on Clinton. How tightly do you expect this race to become? Starting with you, Kellyanne.
I think that the race is tightening and we can continue to have a real race before us. The fact is that Bob Dole is almost to 40%, which I think is the best news he's had out of the polling numbers in quite some time. If you look at Bill Clinton's number at 49%, by definition you have half of this country saying no way to the guy in the White House. I do expect it to tighten as more and more Dole supporters sort of come out of the closet and say, okay, we'll swallow hard enough. He's the guy with the greater character. We trust him. He's running some ads which remind us of the political opportunism of Bill Clinton these last 4 years. No, we don't think it's cool to have a leader in the White House who thinks it's okay to do drugs.
Farai.
Well, to take a lesson from 1992, it's the economy, stupid, and right now the economy is not doing very badly at all. The household income in 1995 rose for the first time in 6 years, something that Clinton is very much going to take credit for. Americans are not feeling the pinch that they would need to feel to really flip over the leadership of this country. I think it's a good thing in many ways that the race is tightening, because that means Americans are being very analytical about who they're choosing as their next leader, the person who will take them into the 21st century. I expect the race will tighten up another couple points, but there's still a huge barrier for Bob Dole to surmount if he's going to win the election.
Why is this race tightening, Farai?
Americans right now realize that we are in the home stretch. There is not very much time at all. We have just a little bit over a month before we have to choose our next president. So people are going to start looking very analytically at the issues that we face, the economic issues, the issues of drugs. Bob Dole has put out some very good, hard-hitting campaign ads on the issue of drugs, and Americans are going to look at that and make tough choices. Ultimately, Bob Dole still has a long road to go if he's going to win this race, which it doesn't doesn't seem very likely, but it's very important that Americans make their decisions now.
Kellyanne, your take on why this race is tightening to within 10 points according to CNN's latest tracking poll?
Bernie, I would take the view that where some are saying the election is over, to many rank-and-file voters in this country, it hasn't yet begun. If Bob Dole can put himself in striking distance, which apparently he has due to our latest poll, that sets him up very nicely for the debates, the point at which a lot of Americans tune into this race definitively for the first time. I would remind us that if 2 years ago, on September 27th, 94, only one Republican led in a democratically controlled seat in the House, led definitively in the poll numbers, and over 50 of them ended up going 5 weeks later to win those seats. So to many Americans who are busy packing school lunches, paying their mortgage payments, they're going to wait to see these two men in the room at the same time for the first time they can remember to finally make up their minds in an unscripted, unrehearsed debate format.
And in conclusion, Kellyanne, starting with you, what will be the determining factor in your judgment when we learn the results on November 5th, early hours of November 6th on Election Day?
Who will win?
Yes.
I think that the Republicans will control the House and the Senate with some modest gains in both chambers, and I still believe that Bob Dole can pull this race out. The defining issue in the end will be character. It means different things to different people. To some, it is a matter of personal virtue, to some, professional responsibility, and to others, it means positions on the issues.
Brian?
Bob Dole would like to hope that the issue is character. The issue is going to be the economy. The issue is going to be the future. Bill Clinton has presented a lot of very targeted tax cuts instead of a sweeping tax cut, which we can't pay for. He's talking about education tax credits. Americans are going to look at the state of the economy, the low unemployment rate, the dropping figures in poverty, and say, let's give them a try for another 4 years.
To each of you, thanks very much. Faraj Jade in New York and Kellyanne Fitzpatrick here in Washington. And still to come.
It is true that he and I had differences over the budget last year, and we will again in this campaign. And we have different tax cut plans, but I don't think that that qualifies me as a closet liberal.
Bill Clinton responds to Bob Dole's accusations about his real political inclinations. We're going to find out what that has to do with the political play of the week next.
I read the other day that President Clinton got together with all the other world leaders to discuss terrorism. But the self-congratulatory speeches that they gave before this photograph was taken took over 4 hours. So they had to cut the actual meeting time to 20 minutes. 20 minutes to discuss world terrorism.
Time, the world's most interesting magazine.
Watch out. This is as rough and tough as it gets. You think you're tough? Sports Illustrated knocks you over with a hard-hitting new video, the NFL's 100 toughest players of all time. You also get this exclusive Pro Football Hall of Fame coaches shirt. Both the video and coaches shirt are free with your paid subscription to Sports Illustrated. Get into it with Mad Dog and Butkus. I call him a maniac. Watch out for Lambert, LT, and more of the toughest, roughest, and rowdiest of all time.
The single toughest guy that I've been around would be Greg Lloyd.
It's the toughest show on earth. See it free from Sports Illustrated. Call now and you also get this great coach's shirt featuring the embroidered emblems of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and Sports Illustrated. Get your choice of sizes for this 100% cotton coach's shirt exclusively from Sports Illustrated. It's a classic package so impressive you won't believe it's free when you order 54 issues of SI for only $1.48 an issue. Save over 55% off the cover price. For quicker delivery, use your credit card. Get tough and look good with this exclusive offer. Call immediately for the new Slam Bang video, the NFL's 100 toughest players, and the Pro Football Hall of Fame coaches shirt. Both are free from Sports Illustrated. A sports experience like no other. Sports Illustrated. Get into it.
And it's time on this Friday to announce the political play of the week, and Bill Schneider's here to make the call. Bill?
Well, Bernie, Bob Dole is finally making some headway in this campaign. He's figured out a way to stage a personal attack against President Clinton without getting personal. Where is Bill Clinton most vulnerable? Here's a clue. 60% of the voters approve of President Clinton's job performance, but only 46% believe he's honest and trustworthy. So the answer is character. But how can Bob Dole raise doubts about Mr. Clinton's character without engaging in negative personal attacks, attacks that might backfire? He's figured out a way to do it. Dole is employing a two-front offensive. The first front, ads. The Dole campaign staged a massive television ad buy on the issue of drug policy. One informed voters that drug use among teenagers has been going up.
Clinton's liberal drug policies have failed. Our children deserve better.
The next contained an excerpt from a little-remembered 1992 Clinton interview.
And in front of our children on MTV, the president himself.
If you had to do over again, would you inhale? Sure, if I could. I tried before.
Bill Clinton. He just doesn't get it. But we do.
The president was compelled to respond in a television interview last week. And within a day, the GOP was publicizing his response.
But now Clinton admits he was wrong.
I wish I'd never done any of that, although I did such a little bit, but it was wrong.
For the thousands of young Americans who became hooked on drugs under Clinton, his apology is too little, too late.
The Dole campaign got the President of the United States to apologize. The message, you just can't trust this guy. The second front, speeches. On Monday, Dole set forth this proposition.
The point I want to make is this. President Clinton came to town a liberal. He's still a liberal.
On Tuesday, Dole spelled out his argument. Go back and look at what he did when his party controlled everything in 1993 and 94.
$16 billion stimulus package of pork barrel government spending. The largest tax increase in American history. The government takeover of the greatest health care system on earth.
Dole says that's still Clinton's agenda, only now he's hiding it.
These are the actions of someone who, once the spotlight of the campaign is turned off, will take every opportunity to increase the size of government.
The president's response? That was then. This is now.
It is true that he and I had differences over the budget last year, and we will again in this campaign. And we have different tax cut plans, but I don't think that qualifies me as a closet liberal.
Dole's response? There's a reason why the president sounds different now.
The only thing that stopped him in his tracks was electing a Republican Congress in 1994. That's all.
The message? You just can't trust this guy. Notice how Dole is raising questions about Mr. Clinton's character without throwing mud. No mention of Whitewater or sexual harassment suits or draft records. It's tough, it's shrewd, and it's the political play of the week. But is it working? Our tracking poll this week shows Dole narrowing the gap with Clinton for the first time in the campaign. That suggests the message is resonating with the voters. The Clinton campaign has responded by running some pretty tough negative ads criticizing Dole's record. Now, Dole certainly has cast some controversial votes, but they don't raise doubts about his character. No one could ever call Bob Dole a closet conservative. Bernie?
Okay, thanks very much. Bill Schneider with the now famous political play of the week. And that's all the time we have for this edition of Inside Politics. I'm Bernard Shaw. Please be sure and join Wolf Blitzer for Inside Politics Weekend tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. His guest will be Dole campaign manager Scott Reed. Early Prime is next, but first let's go to New York and John Matexas. He has a financial news update. John?
All right, thank you, Bernie. Investors seem to take a pause today. The stock market straddling the fence amid some confusion about where stocks are headed next after the Federal Reserve's surprising decision earlier this week to leave interest rates unchanged and the recent run to record levels. The Dow Industrials edged up 4 points to close at 58.72, but the blue chip index lost more than 15 points for the week. Our broader and secondary markets were all in the plus column, but just barely. There you see the S&P down. The Nasdaq gained 2 points today and 10 points for the week. In the bond market, the 30-year U.S. Treasury issue down 7/32 of a point in price, the yield at 6.89%. Pepsi shares were the most actively traded today after the company said its overseas operations are struggling. The beverage giant is taking charges that will total more than $500 million through the rest of the year. The restructuring plan could include layoffs as well as overseas office closings. Pepsi says it overextended itself in Brazil, where it faced stiff competition from rival Coca-Cola.
The soft drink business is a very simple business. Just get it in front of the consumer every day, cold, and you'll get the business. And Coca-Cola just certainly has got that game down pat. So when they want to roll over Pepsi, they just roll over Pepsi in a given market, and they've shown the ability to do that time and time again.
In another sign that Coca-Cola's fortunes are improving, the company says it will record a $320 million gain in the third quarter after settling a long-running tax dispute with the IRS. That news could be salt in the wounds for Pepsi, whose shares lost 2 1/8 today, closing at 28 1/8. More than 20 million shares changed hands. 2 other big-name companies told tales of woe on Wall Street today. The Aluminum Company of America, better known as Alcoa, says it will take a charge of more than $65 million in the third quarter. The world's largest aluminum producer will also cut 2,900 jobs through layoffs or early retirement incentives. Shares of the Dow component falling 1/8 at 58 7/8. And Whirlpool says its third quarter profits will drop 35 to 40% below last year. The home appliance maker blaming continuing economic problems in Europe and a charge due to previously announced restructuring. Whirlpool shares were on a downward spiral, losing 1 5/8 at 50 1/2 today. Well, a meltdown in the executive suite at ice cream maker Ben & Jerry's. That story coming up after this.
As president, I would reduce the deficit by cutting spending in all facets of government.
Hey, if the government wants to save money, they should take a lesson from small business and go to Office Max. Office supplies, computers, electronics, software, furniture. Great stuff like Packard Bell computers and Eberhard Faber pens at guaranteed low prices. So any business can save time and money, even the government. You know, maybe America needs a candidate who actually knows how to save money.
How about you?
Office Max, we go to the max for you.
Say, if you like cheese, but not the fat and cholesterol of cheese, please try my delicious Smart Beet fat-free slices. This is our brand new flavor seal. It's kind of fun to open. Smart Beet has the only slices with 0 fat, 0 cholesterol, and 0 lactose. Serve them cold or grill them. Either way, they have a great cheddar taste. Smart Beet, the only slices with 0 fat, 0 cholesterol, 0 lactose. You could say cheese, but go for Smart Beet.
Ben & Jerry's, known for its commitment to social causes and its offbeat ice cream flavors, says its president and chief executive is resigning. Robert Holland took the helm less than 2 years ago to provide professional leadership to the laid-back company, but he says now it is time for new leadership while the company deals with lagging sales and rising costs. Holland was hired after the company launched an unorthodox write-in campaign called Yo, I'm Your CEO. Shares of Ben & Jerry's losing 50 cents at $12.75 a share today. A day after ValueJet won approval to resume flying, its flight attendants are going to court to try to stop it. The union that represents ValueJet flight attendants is appealing the Transportation Department's decision to allow the troubled carrier to resume operations. The union calls the agency's approval a dangerous precedent that threatens airline safety. ValueJet was grounded in June because of safety concerns following a deadly crash in the Florida Everglades in May. To recap, the Dow Industrials gained 4 points. The NASDAQ edged up 2 points. For a full wrap-up of the day's business news, tune into Moneyline with Lou Dobbs at 7 and 11:30 p.m. Eastern. Tonight's guest, Vince Farrell, a Wall Street heavy hitter, who will talk about the economy and the financial markets. I'm John Metaxas in New York. Early Prime is straight ahead.
Tonight on Larry King Live, Robert Bork tells why he thinks America's on the way to ruin. Tonight, 9 Eastern on CNN.